MeMonster.
Chapter 21. Zeeth and Hansen's lifeless bodies were buried among the horde of goblins hidden from sight. Hundreds, even thousands of crimson eyes glared menacingly in our direction. "Jenna, do you see the wall behind us?" "Yes, I do." "Climb that wall." Pressed by the waves of beasts, we found ourselves backed against a towering barrier, the building's roof looming above. Jenna glanced behind her. "But if I climb up, I'll be running alone." "Who said you would? Once you're up, I'll follow. Then it's Aaron's turn. You go first and extend your hand to help." Aaron's condition was dire. He wanted to speak, but could only gasp for air. "They're coming! Aaron, hold your ground," I shouted. "I'll go first." Jenna began her ascent up the stone wall. Kya! A swarm of goblins descended upon us. I swung my weapon in an arc, exposing their chests, while Aaron wielded his spear with determination. "Avoid thrusting, one at a time." I parried their attacks with my shield, then struck back. The number of goblins multiplied. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't block or evade them all. Wounds began to appear on my body. "I've made it up! Hurry! I'm going!" Exerting every ounce of strength, I delivered sweeping strikes, tearing the goblins apart. Without delay, I climbed up the stone wall, using the scattered crevices as footholds. 3 minutes, 12 seconds. "Aaron, follow up!" "Hey, Aaron, can't you hear me?" Suddenly, Aaron snapped back to reality and turned toward me. I'm sorry. I'm coming. I'm coming. Give me your hand." Jenna reached out her hand. I grasped it, stained with blood and weariness, and ascended onto the roof. Aaron hurried to climb up below. "Take my hand." I extended my hand from the rooftop. In that fleeting moment, as Aaron seized my hand and tried to ascend, "Ah!" Aaron let out a pained groan. A blade had embedded itself in Aaron's calf, deeply lodged in a crevice of the wall. "I can't." "Jenna, hold on to Aaron." I grabbed the edge of the roof and descended to the wall. "What are you trying to do?" "I'm cutting off his foot. If I cut it off, we can pull him up right away." "Got it." With my left hand holding onto the roof, I swung my right sword forcefully. It wasn't a comfortable position, but I had to cut it in one strike. I recalled the feeling of cutting down a straw scarecrow with a single blow. Ah! One of Aaron's legs, splattering blood, fell to the ground. "Pull him up." Jenna held Aaron's right hand with both hands and pulled him up. The hot blood from the severed leg stained her face. "Whew!" I spit out the blood that entered my mouth and climbed back onto the roof. "Aaron, 1 star, has suffered bleeding. His stamina is decreasing." Aaron seemed to have no strength left and collapsed on the roof. I had no time to waste. I quickly stood up and looked below the roof. "You've got to be kidding me!" Countless goblins had gathered below. When our eyes met, the goblins looked up and chuckled. "Are they giving up? You think they would?" One goblin toppled over. Another climbed on top of it. The goblins started building a pyramid. "Wow, they're smart." "They're smart my ass." The goblin at the very top managed to find a foothold in the crevices of the stone wall. Gradually, step by step, the goblin that constructed the makeshift stairs climbed up the wall. I surveyed the roof, its worn surface strewn with broken bricks. Without hesitation, I hurled a brick at the goblin below. Quack! The goblin took a direct hit to the face and plummeted to its demise. "We need to stop them from climbing up." "Got it." 1 minute, 58 seconds. Soon, we even ran out of bricks to throw. Now, goblins were emerging from all directions. Jenna tightened her grip on her dagger. "Aaron, 1 star, has entered a critical state and is at risk of losing his life." Aaron was lying limp, his condition worsening. He wasn't dead yet, but it wouldn't be long. The bleeding was severe. "Use Aaron's spear. Stab them as they come." Jenna held the dagger's blade between her index and middle fingers, launching it at a goblin. The dagger found its mark, piercing the goblin's forehead. Seizing the spear, Jenna began thrusting downward. I, too, raised my sword and struck at the climbing goblins. The goblins at the top used those beneath them as stepping stones to ascend. However, more goblins climbed up than fell down. Nowhere else to run. I kicked away the goblin trying to grab my hand, scanning the surroundings. Damn it! Other rooftops had already been seized by goblins. Their crimson eyes glowed, fixated on us. "Kya!" she shouted. "What happened? Did you get stabbed?" I quickly looked back. It would be dangerous if Jenna fell here. I couldn't fend off the enemy alone. Jenna was clenching her right hand. She wasn't injured, but she had lost her grip on the spear. I lost the spear. I'll make them regret it. What do we do now? What can we do? Kick them and knock them down. Jenna leaned her body against the sloping rooftop, delivering powerful kicks to the approaching goblins' faces. With cries of pain, they tumbled to the ground. 1 minute, 24 seconds. Eek! Dozens of hands surged from beneath the roof, grasping their weapons. Green flesh was sliced, blood flowed, yet the goblins paid no heed as they climbed higher, pulling their weapons closer. Clang! Unfortunately, I lost my sword. The weapon vanished, consumed by the sea of goblins. Only a blood-stained shield remained. I struck at the hands reaching onto the roof with the edge of the shield. Severed goblin fingers sprayed blood as they flew through the air. "There are too many! How much longer? I can't hold on any longer!" 30 seconds! Just 30 seconds! It feels like an hour has passed! It's true, trust me and hold on a little longer. 32 seconds. My vision grew hazy. Blood covered my right eye, impairing my sight. I couldn't distinguish whether it was my blood or the goblins. My body pleaded for rest. Now take a moment to rest. You've given your all and more. I had to bite down hard to come back to my senses the moment I heard this whisper in my ear. I summoned all my remaining mental strength, refusing to succumb to weakness. Dying here was not an option. I had my own sense of pride. I had to at least clear the 5th floor. Just a little longer. Finally, a goblin managed to set foot on the roof. Swiftly, I struck its temple with the edge of my shield. It tumbled down, swinging its sword, and deeply cut my right arm, blood splattering out. Han, 1 star, is bleeding. Stamina is decreasing. It was senseless. I couldn't understand why I had to endure such hardship in this place. Back on Earth, none of this ever happened. I slept in a warm, comfortable bed and enjoyed delicious meals. Then why is this happening now? Why did I come here? Why did they summon me to fight monsters? Why me? Why me? Why me? Skill awakened. Han, 1 star, has acquired the Fury skill. You damn bastards!
I hurled my shield at the goblin climbing up. A weak scream came from beside me. Yeah! Jenna, 1 star, is bleeding. Stamina decreases at regular intervals. You're still alive? I'm okay. I can hold on. A dagger was lodged in Jenna's side. Her dress was stained red. It wouldn't be surprising if she didn't make it. Don't die. Just hold on until it's over. Then we can go back. But I think this is as far as I can go. Shut up. We won't lose. I couldn't hold them off any longer. Dozens of goblins swarmed onto the roof. Retreat! Inside the roof! Go inside! But there's no space inside! Just go! Sensation faded from my right arm. I felt lightheaded, the world spinning around me. Grr, 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 rock. Do you want to kill me? Come on, come in. All of you, you bastards! No sword, no shield. I couldn't even tell how many seconds were left. I couldn't spare a thought for Jenna's situation. Yeah! Dozens of goblins charged at me simultaneously. Their blood-soaked blades aimed to tear me apart. And then, 0 seconds. As if time had frozen, the goblins' movement broke, as well as their blades pointed at me. Stage clear. Han, 1 star. Jenna, 1 star. Aaron, 1 star. Level up. Reward, 30,000 gold, 3 B-grade iron ores, 2 B-grade leathers, and 2 B-grade cardboards. MVP, Han, 1 star. The decimated cityscape, the horde of goblins, and the lifeless bodies of Zeeth and Hansen all vanished in a radiant beam of light. A gentle white light enveloped my entire body, healing my wounds. Sensation returned to my arm, my lungs regained their rhythm, and torn muscles repaired themselves. The dagger embedded in Jenna's side fell to the ground, and fresh flesh sprouted from Aaron's severed leg. Jenna let out a hollow laugh, sinking to the ground. "Can you hold my hand? My legs won't support me." I wordlessly extended my hand. Jenna grasped it, wobbling a few times before managing to rise. Did we make it? Yes. It was a familiar room. Climb the tower, save the world. Main dungeon, current floor 5. The message on the left mirror signaled our clearance of the floor. The familiar hum filled the air as the waiting room began to rise. Aaron was still lying on the floor. Though unconscious, his breathing remained steady. He had made it through. Is it like this from the 5th floor onward? If so, this time was different. I reflected on the battle. 3 divided passages, swarming goblins. It was a structure where the failure of even one person would lead to total annihilation. If only we had trained Zeeth and Hansen a bit more, we wouldn't have had to fight so desperately. Surviving the mission wasn't too difficult once a good party was formed. It was just unfortunate that we got caught in such a vulnerable moment. I picked up the iron sword and shield lying on the floor. Even the blood-soaked equipment had been miraculously restored. This is just too much. If I had known it would be like this, I would have trained harder. Jenna muttered, hanging her bow and quiver on her back. Her voice sounded cheerful, but her face told a different story. She got stabbed and almost died. Zeeth and Hansen had perished, and I ended up cutting Aaron's leg. As we emerged into the square, Decca rushed over as if he'd been waiting. "Young Nim, well done!" Silently, I made my way to the lodging. "Are Zeeth and Hansen inside? Chloe said she had prepared something delicious." "They're dead." "What?" "They're gone." Decca stood frozen. Ignoring him, I entered the lodging. A few people in the lobby glanced at me. I gently laid Aaron on the sofa and placed the spear beside him. His wounds had healed, but he didn't regain consciousness immediately. "The Master is calling. The Chosen One shall come forth." Isilei's voice echoed through the square. It seemed anything was trying to form a sub-party for the lower floors. My head is pounding. I had no intention of dwelling on the loss of someone in the waiting room. In a place like this, especially for someone like me at the forefront of the tower, death was a daily occurrence. But the throbbing in my head I couldn't ignore. I opened the door at the end of the corridor and stepped inside. It was my assigned room in the lodging. I had grown accustomed to this place, even though it was far from a modern home. I collapsed on the bed. "Congratulations, Master. You have successfully cleared the 5th floor. The weekly dungeon is now open. Gather various materials to strengthen the waiting room and heroes." A message appeared announcing the opening of the weekly dungeon after clearing the 5th floor. To think of it, I acquired the Fury skill. Composure and Fury couldn't coexist. It was an evident bug. Composure kept me rational in any situation, while Fury sacrificed rationality for heightened combat prowess. It must be linked to my unique nature as a master and a hero. I still didn't have all the answers. At least for today, I didn't want to dwell on it. From tomorrow, things would get busy again. I had reached level 10, the limit for a 1-star rating, and the weekly dungeon where I could obtain valuable materials had opened. It was time to aim for a 2-star promotion. So let's take today off. I closed my eyes.
Chapter 22. I opened my eyes to a sky above my room, tinted with a pale ashen hue. Judging by the brightness, it was early morning. Shaking off sleep, I rose from bed and splashed water on my face from the bowl Chloe had left. Every dawn, she diligently provided water to all the rooms in the facility. As I stepped into the lobby, a delightful aroma greeted me. The clock read 5:45 a.m. I made my way to the dining area and picked up a perfectly roasted potato from the table. "Are you up? It's a beautiful morning," Chloe said, busily heating stew in the kitchen. I glanced at the sky, wondering what made it so wonderful. "Are you heading out early again today?" she asked. "Yeah," I replied. I couldn't afford to miss a day of training. Besides, I needed to test the skills I acquired from yesterday's battle. "How about joining others for a meal once in a while? It can get lonely eating by yourself all the time," Chloe suggested. The waiting room was bustling with activity, and a sense of order had taken hold. Over time, a few rules had been established, one of which was gathering together for meals. Soon, the other residents would emerge from their rooms, having awakened from their slumber. I, however, remained an exception to this rule. A vivid image of Chloe's bright yet swollen eyes flashed in my mind. She had been working tirelessly. Zeeth and Hansen used to help her with the daily task of preparing meals for 20 people. It was no easy task, and I remembered how the three of us often offered our help, knowing how little rest Chloe took. With those thoughts in mind, I made my way to the training grounds. Jenna was already there, drenched in sweat as she expertly wielded her dagger. That girl, always claiming to need more sleep and complaining about early morning training. This is new. "What's gotten into you?" I asked. "I don't want to end up dead," Jenna replied, her voice determined. She gracefully executed aerial maneuvers, launching a rapid succession of strikes with her dagger. It wasn't surprising anymore. Jenna possessed exceptional balance and agility, surpassing other heroes. Even I struggled to keep up with her movements. With her lightning-fast reflexes, she could probably traverse various terrains and obstacles effortlessly. In contrast, Aaron, I muttered in my breath. Despite surviving last night's battle, he hadn't acquired any new skills. He still relied on that single, basic spear technique. Securing sandbags around my ankles and wrists, I adjusted their weight until they totaled about 10 kilograms. With a determined stride, I set off on a slow jog around the training field. Jenna kept pace beside me, her presence motivating. Despite the speed at which we ran, I wasn't gasping for breath. Mid-run, I tossed the sandbags aside, disappointed by how little impact they had on my exercise. The same applied to push-ups. They offered little challenge. Curious, I inverted my body and performed backward arm bends. Surprisingly, it worked. I could feel the weight gradually taking its toll. As my level increased, my body surpassed the capabilities of an average person. Strength, stamina, endurance, reflexes, every aspect had undergone a remarkable transformation. If I returned to Earth in this state, I might even consider a career in sports. My once ordinary adult physique had developed solid, lean muscles. A glance in the mirror would reveal a distinct six-pack, not the bulging muscles of a bodybuilder, but the practical, functional muscles of a skilled martial artist. Oh my! This time, I challenged myself by doing push-ups with my left hand lifted off the ground. Finally, it felt like a real workout. At the same time, my body's instability demanded balance, making it a great posture to improve both strength and balance. I accessed my status window. Han Itzrat, 1 star, level 9, experience 54 of 70. Class, novice. Strength, 23 of 23. Intelligence, 11 of 11. Stamina, 21 of 21. Agility, 21 of 21. Skills, low-level swordsmanship, level 5. Pain resistance, level 2. Composure, level 3. Fury, level 1. My strength increased by 3. Stamina by 1. Agility by 1, and intelligence decreased by 1. The total growth value was 5. Since the previous level up, the growth value had remained fixed at 5. It was an extraordinary and elastic value, typically seen at the 3rd level. My skills had also made significant progress. I managed to level up my skills 5 times in one battle. This phenomenon, known as skill awakening, was a rare occurrence that heroes experienced in combat. Not bad. The current trend of growth was quite promising. Except for the unexpected Fury skill, everything was according to plan. I would gradually discover how composure and Fury could harmonize. Maintaining a firm stance, I bent my right arm and extended it. The effect was akin to lifting and lowering a 70-kilogram weight with one hand, yet my right arm showed no signs of slowing down. Even though my stats had not yet reached 20, I couldn't help but wonder how much more I would transform when I surpassed 100. Would I possess the ability to tear down walls or pierce through steel plates with my fingertips, like martial arts masters? Coincidentally, I was nearing level 10. The timing couldn't be more perfect. I could obtain the necessary materials for promotion from the newly unlocked weekly dungeon I ventured into yesterday. However, what on earth are you doing? I inquired, still in the firm position. Due to my posture, my shirt had slid down, revealing my sculpted abs. Jenna gently caressed them. Well, they looked irresistible, she replied. Could I please not touch them? Why should I refrain? It's not like it's bothering you. It is bothering me, so please remove your hand. I flexed and extended my arm, using the momentum to execute a full-body flip. Even my current self was capable of such acrobatics. Speaking of which, this girl, the more I observe her, the more audacious she becomes. Despite what happened yesterday, she shamelessly persists in her behavior the following day. It's not my place to say anything, though. Maybe Jenna's approach is the correct one. We must not dwell on the past. What truly matters is what we need to do now and the tasks we can accomplish. As long as we remember this simple fact, we can maintain composure even in a place like this. From that perspective, Jenna's greatest talent may not be in marksmanship or physical prowess, but her psychological resilience. Today's basic stamina training concluded quickly. Although lunchtime was still a while away, we immediately transitioned to weapon training. It was now more efficient to invest time in honing our weapon skills rather than focusing solely on stamina. As always, we assumed our stances. Preparation seemed to be in order. Shall we proceed as usual today? I nodded, in agreement.
Jenna distanced herself about 10 meters away from me. In her hands, she tightly held a recurve bow. Not a practice weapon, but one meant for real combat. The arrows attached to it possessed razor-sharp tips. The practice of blocking arrows with a shield had become monotonous. I had also reached an advanced stage in practicing the coordination of shield and sword. The shield alone couldn't provide the same level of effectiveness in deflecting arrows. It had reached a point where further practice seemed futile. And so I discarded the shield. Now I grasped a single sword. One misplaced arrow could prove fatal. I knew it, and so did Jenna. I'm ready. Ping! With a cheerful sound, an arrow came flying toward me. For a split second, time seemed to slow down. The arrow twirled through the air, heading for my right chest. My right hand moved instinctively, assuming an efficient posture without conscious intent. The arrow shattered on impact just as it approached. One more. Here I go! The second arrow took flight. I kept my eyes fixed on it. My sword swiftly arced in a diagonal path, severing the arrow in half. The next arrow came without warning. Jenna and I refrained from exchanging unnecessary words. The training ground was filled with a silent symphony of arrows being released and thwarted. When I split the 15th arrow in half, several individuals entered the training area. We paused. Ah, hello. As our eyes met, we awkwardly exchanged greetings. I offered a brief response. They settled into a corner, commencing their training with uncoordinated movements. Aaron was noticeably absent. Aaron isn't here? Leave him be. He's probably sulking in his room. Normally, he would have arrived before me, diligently engaging in training. The same could be said for Dika. Both of them displayed exceptional enthusiasm when it came to honing their skills. Not like these guys here. I understood the mindset with which they approached training. It wasn't solely about becoming stronger. It was about concealing their potential. When the sky darkened, they acted nonchalant, only to swiftly wield their weapons once it brightened. They should have been the ones to die instead of the other two yesterday. Those two had shown promise. With a bit more growth, they could have become valuable assets. My expression contorted, and Jenna seemed to sense the atmosphere, offering an awkward smile. Let's focus on our training. Release! Ping! The 16th arrow soared through the air, aiming for my lower body. I skillfully evaded it. Wow. Don't pay them any mind. It's just their usual behavior. Whispers echoed through the crowd. I had no room to spare for their opinions. It seems my reflexes have indeed improved. The art of sword and shield encompassed a skill known as swordsmanship. While using both weapons simultaneously yielded the highest efficiency, there wasn't a major penalty for employing only one. Now, my body moved ahead of my thoughts.
Like breathing, my sword traced its trajectory with effortless reflexes. Still, it remained a basic skill for now. I couldn't help but recall Shay's extraordinary swordsmanship on my first day here, piercing goblin necks with precise strikes. In comparison, I still had a long way to go. Perhaps Shay could effortlessly cleave incoming arrows in half. In this world, even minimal training yielded remarkable results. Back on Earth, reaching this level would have taken at least a year. Beneath my feet, the broken remnants of arrows began to accumulate. Some arrows grazed my arms or legs, causing blood to spatter. Despite the wounds, Jenna remained unwavering, as more arrows swiftly followed. These arrows were meant to kill me, and I wasn't going to relent. If I were to die senselessly in this training, it would be futile. A few onlookers stood at a distance, their gazes fixed on Jenna and me. We must have seemed like madmen. The third arrow flew straight toward my forehead. A hit would be fatal. No chance for recovery. With a flick of my wrist, I deflected the arrow to the left using the edge of my sword. It whizzed by and embedded itself into the ground near the spectator's feet. "Oh my... Did you see that?" As I growled, the onlookers quickly retreated to their original positions. Even while swinging weapons at scarecrows, their attention remained focused on us. They hadn't even properly trained their stamina. In my mind, I contemplated sending a message to the master, letting him handle these beginners. However, as a level 9 player, it wouldn't be worth the trouble to devour such low-level heroes. The same applied to Jenna and Aaron. Dika would need to reach a certain level to make a significant impact. This time, it's a double shot. 2 arrows flew at me rapid succession, targeting my chest and neck. Swiftly, I parried both with precise strikes. After today's training, the master would log in. I estimated it would be around 10 p.m. I had already discerned anything's daily routine, which is why I requested a watch. We would be heading to the weekly dungeon. I mentally prepared the necessary materials. In the midst of it all, my hand wielding the sword continued to move skillfully and purposefully.
Chapter 23. As night fell, Aaron arrived at the training grounds and spoke up. "Sorry for being late." "What are you apologizing for?" I mumbled, hurling a wooden spear his way. Aaron caught it with ease. "If I had been a bit stronger, those 2 wouldn't have... They perished because they were weak. That's the simple truth." The training grounds were empty except for me, Jenna, and Aaron. Those who had trained during the day had already left to enjoy their evening after dinner. I understood why. After attaching the spear, Aaron plunged it into a training dummy. His stance was flawless, every movement efficient. He began his usual routine of 1,000 thrusts. Meanwhile, Jenna practiced rapid-fire archery at the shooting range. Her goal was speed. Drawing, knocking, and firing an arrow in just a second. She missed often, but her accuracy improved steadily. As for me, I practiced slow, deliberate sword swings. Each swing took about a minute, a method I'd read in martial arts novels. Surprisingly, it was effective. It helped me sense where my strength lay and which parts of my body needed work. An hour passed like this. I sheathed my sword and wiped the sweat from my neck with a towel. The time was 9:47 p.m. By my estimate, anything would log in about 10 minutes. As I headed for the exit, Jenna followed. "Master will be joining us soon, right?" "You catch on quickly." "Well, I am your #1 subordinate after all, Oppa." We stepped into the plaza and sat on a random bench. Jenna sat beside me. "Welcome to Pick Me Up." At exactly 10 p.m., the sky lit up with shimmering lights. "The loading is complete. Touch selected." It had been a month since I arrived in this world. On Earth, just over 10 days had passed. During this time, I'd figured out anything's login pattern. There was a 3-fold time difference between the waiting room and Earth. Anything logged in 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. With this, I could predict anything's logins, though my data was still limited. Over time, my predictions would get better. For now, I relied on instinct. By the way, time in the stages flowed in real time. If the 3-fold difference applied there too, I would have died yesterday. "These idiots, I told you to come out to the plaza when the master logs in." Isel suddenly appeared, shouting. "Impressed with you, Oppa. Compared to them, our Loki? It would be great if the others learned from you. Anyway, amazing job in yesterday's battle. To overcome the survival mission on the 5th floor, even with those inept ones, truly shows you're the master of masters. You're extraordinary, master. Master, huh? That's an old-fashioned term. Ah, they're still not out. I won't let them get away with this time. Just leave them. They'll come when you call. Besides, only a limited number can be deployed for battle. All right, I understand. I'll leave them, but only for you. What did you say to make her act like that? Jenna asked. It's a secret. Jenna shot me a suspicious look, then sighed and relaxed. So, today is the weekly dungeon, right? Hold on a second. The master has started. Isel vanished in an instant. Forming a party. Drag and drop your heroes. Han, 1 star, joins Party 4. Jenna, 1 star, joins Party 4. Lewis, 1 star, joins Party 4. The weekly dungeon. There wasn't much to see. Open up the rift of space and time. The front gate creaked open. Isel reappeared and shouted, Lewis, Jeffrey, Owen, come out now! A few moments later, 3 weary-looking men emerged into the plaza. They seemed annoyed at being disturbed. The 5 of you will enter the rift of space and time. Go! 5 people? Us and those guys? Jenna blinked, scanning the area sharply. She rarely saw them. They stayed on the 1st floor of the main dungeon. Even those 3 looked uncomfortable around us. I entered the rift of space-time. A few moments later, the others, including Jenna, followed. Climb the tower and save the world. Main dungeon, current floor, 5. An ever-changing dungeon extravaganza. Weekly dungeon, Candleroot Forest. 11 hours. Collect various rare materials. Exploration dungeon, access denied. Clear the 10th floor of the main dungeon. As expected, it was open. The central mirror, once ashen, now glowed with vibrant colors, the gateway to the weekly dungeon. Will you fight alongside us? Well, it seems so. What's your name? I'm Owen. He was an ordinary middle-aged man, the kind you'd see anywhere. He looked at me anxiously. My strength doesn't seem like it would help much. Don't worry, you won't have to fight. Really? Well, that's a relief. Of course, that didn't mean they were just spectators. The mirror began to glow. When the light faded, we found ourselves in an unfamiliar forest. Party 4 has entered the weekly dungeon Candleroot Forest, lowest level. They will collect materials and return. Tips. The type of dungeon changes depending on the date. Please check. Where are the enemies? Is there a special mission like on the 5th floor? Jenna asked, scanning the area. I playfully pinched her cheek. Moo ha ha ha. Why are you laughing like that? What's so funny? It's funny because you're scared. This is the weekly dungeon, a place for gathering materials. Is that so? I looked around. Behind me was a shimmering circle, about 3 meters in radius, flickering with an otherworldly glow. What is this? Curiosity got the better of me. I picked up a pebble and tossed it into the space. Han, 1 star, collects trash, F grade. Tips. Trash is unnecessary. Please discard it. Next, I broke off a thick branch and threw it in. Han, 1 star, collects branch. Tips. By collecting 100 branch items, you can process them into lumber. However, you need a woodworking station. Got it. What? Can you explain it to me too? Throw gathered materials into that space, branches and such. They'll be stored and you can use them to craft items. With that, I snapped off another branch and tossed it in. Han, 1 star, collects branch. Is that all there is to it? I nodded. The other 3, both confused and curious, began breaking branches and tossing them into the porter. System messages soon appeared. In reality, we'd need tools like axes or saws for efficient farming. Breaking branches 100 times didn't compare to a single log. But since anything hadn't given us tools, we had no choice. Is that really enough? We won't have to fight? Yeah, it's different. We just follow along. We hit the jackpot for once. The 3 let out a relieved sighs, looking reassured. Gathering branches and tossing them into the portal was far better than fighting monsters and getting covered in blood. Leaving the trio behind, we ventured deeper into the forest. Where are we going? Hunting. Hunting? What kind? Wild boar? Deer? Rabbit? Are we finally going to have meat? It's not that kind of hunting. Look! Jenna's eyes sparkled with excitement, and she suddenly dashed off. Wait for me, meat!
Jenna sprinted through the trees, bow in hand, arrow nocked. I followed, determined not to lose her. She leaped over vines and pushed through the undergrowth, moving swiftly toward her target. I managed to keep up. In the distance, near the great Adrim tree, a deer grazed peacefully. As it ate, it noticed Jenna and bolted. In a flash, Jenna's arrow struck its leg. With agile grace, Jenna leaped over branches. I quickly cut a branch with my sword and chased after her. The wounded deer limped ahead. "Sorry," Jenna said, showing no remorse as she shot another arrow into its neck. The deer cried out and collapsed. Jenna looked satisfied. "It's going to be delicious. Don't you think so, Opa? The tender texture, the juicy meat. Once grilled, it'll be a feast." "Well, I suppose. Even with Chloe's cooking, potatoes alone couldn't compare." "Do you know how to butcher?" "Of course. I've done it for years." Jenna drew her dagger and pressed it to the carotid artery, letting the blood flow. After draining the blood, we remove the hide and organs, then cut it into bite-sized pieces. Make sure to separate the ingredients and store them in the portal. Don't forget anything. "Where are you going?" "I have some business." "Then I'm coming too." "You can go hunting. I'm tired of just potatoes. You're a hunter, so you know what to do. If it's too much to carry, call those people. Trust me, it's 1,000 times better than collecting branches." "All right." Though it was a bit of a hassle, I decided to hunt alone. Leaving Jenna to skin the deer, I ventured deeper into the forest. A rabbit twitched its ears at me, but I ignored it. What I sought was the Queen of the Forest, a rare monster in the weekly dungeon. The inferior elemental stone it dropped could be used for upgrades. It didn't always appear, but I had a good idea of its spawn location. If I headed to the forest's center, there should be a ravine. Fortunately, I found it. Drawing my sword and shield, I moved slowly upstream along the ravine. Rabbits and wild boars drank from the water, but I ignored them. The forest grew denser and darker. I checked the remaining time in my field of vision. 32 minutes 45 seconds. About 30 minutes left. When time ran out, I'd be transported back automatically. I had to capture it. Besides the elemental stone here, I needed 2 more materials from other weekly dungeons. I found it. The creature stood in a small pond in the ravine. It looked like a deer, but with a large horn on its forehead and a massive body, almost like a rhinoceros, a horned doe. 2 smaller bucks stood by its side, guarding it. 3 level 10 forest queens. I hid behind a tree and counted silently. 3, 2, 1. I burst from cover and charged. 1 buck, drinking water, met my gaze. Swoosh! The deer writhed as I slashed its throat. The other buck lowered its horns at me. I blocked with my shield and drove my sword into its neck. In a blink, both bucks were down. I wiped the blood from my sword. "Your boyfriends are dead. Does that dampen your spirits?" Snort. The queen exhaled silently. "Come at me." Chapter 24. The majestic deer lunged forward with explosive speed. I twisted my waist just in time to dodge its charge. The deer's antlers smashed into a tree, splintering it completely. The forest echoed with a thunderous crash as the tree began to topple. Trying to stop it would be pointless. The deer shook its head, scattering fragments of wood, and charged at me again. It felt like a 1.5-ton truck barreling toward me at full speed. I rolled on the ground, barely avoiding its path, and managed to grab its leg. But the wound I inflicted was shallow. Its thick hide and powerful muscles offered strong protection. I got back on my feet, bracing myself for its third charge. Let's give it a try. Stopping it head-on was impossible. Dodging it completely was out of question. One mistake, and I'd be torn apart. In that case, a cloud of dust billowed behind the deer as it raced forward. Each hoofbeat made the ground sink, leaving deep imprints, a testament to its incredible power. Just as its twisted antlers threatened to gore me, I sidestepped. Thump.
The forest queen's antlers pierced a tree trunk. Even stabbing a sword into such a thick tree would be difficult, but the deer did it effortlessly. As the deer shook its head violently, splinters flew through the air. The tree was about to collapse. I quickly moved away. The immobilized deer kicked out with her hind leg. I blocked with my shield, but the impact felt like a sledgehammer blow. My left arm went numb. Damn, it's relentless. I gripped my sword tightly in my right hand and lunged at the deer's hindquarters. It kicked again, and I twisted my body to narrowly avoid it. My collarbone almost shattered. I thrust my sword into her haunch, meeting resistance like stabbing through layers of tough fabric. The blade didn't go in all the way, but I twisted it with all my strength. Enraged, the deer smashed the right side of the arum tree and swung its antlers at me. I had no intention of facing those deadly antlers head-on. I dropped low, almost prostrating myself, and braced for the next move. Whoosh! A powerful gust brushed past my ear. I sprang to my feet, readjusting my grip on the shield. The sword blade was still embedded in the deer's haunch. The deer spun again, antlers whirling. I stepped in, slammed my shield into her cheek, and yanked the sword free. Kee! A fresh cry rang out. Good, the sword was still intact. I dropped the shield and gripped the sword with both hands. It was wedged tightly between hide and muscle, but I managed to pull it out. I stabbed the blade into the same wound, this time deeper. Whoosh! I quickly retreated, putting distance between us. The antlers tore my clothes, leaving them in tatters. Once more, I charged in, sword in hand. Blood sprayed as I opened a new wound. The sword, stained red, slipped from the widening gash. I snatched it from the air and backed away from the thrashing deer. In agony, the deer leapt and thrashed, its antlers smashing branches and rocks to pieces. I stepped back and watched. When an opening appeared, I dashed forward and drove my sword into its temple. The blade pierced its skull. No monster could survive that. The forest queen's eyes lost their light, and her body slumped to the ground. I wiped sweat from my forehead and rotated my left arm. It was stiff, but still usable. At least it wasn't dislocated. I cleaned my sword, retrieved my shield, and examined the fallen queen. Up close, she looked less like a deer and more like a mythical beast, almost a bull. Only one leg remained intact. Now what next? My priority was the elemental stone, but where was it? I expected the corpse to vanish and leave an item, but nothing happened. As I considered calling Jenna, something dropped from the deer's mouth. A sleek green bead. Inferior windstone. Grade D-. An elemental stone infused with the essence of the forest, used for crafting various items and empowering certain heroes. Bingo! I'd found the elemental stone. Next, I needed valuable materials from the forest queen, her blood and scales. Both were essential for crafting superior items. But I didn't have the right tools to extract them. I tried cutting the antlers, but my blade barely scratched them. They were tougher than steel. Even a saw wouldn't help. I guess I'll have to settle for some blood. After several cuts, I managed to sever the carotid artery. I placed my shield under the neck to collect the blood. With no way to carry it, this was my only option. The blood pooled on the shield. I crouched, watching the blood flow. Waiting in silence grew tiresome. I stood, sword in hand, and turned my attention to the antlers. At first, I thought about leaving them, but changed my mind. Who knew when I'd get another chance? I relaxed, focused, and gripped the sword with both hands. I swung down hard. Clang! Unbelievable! Sparks flew where the sword struck the antlers. It was like hitting steel, not wood. In the end, I had only one option. Later, I made my way to the dimensional portal, carrying my spoils. Would I be able to bring them without putting them in the portal? If I just held them, would they return with me? If so, this would be much easier. If not, it would be a problem. The forest queen didn't appear often.
Even after a whole day in the Forest of Trials, sometimes she never showed up. Not wanting to miss any rare materials, I carried everything to the portal myself. I strapped the sword to my waist, held the blood-stained shield in my left hand, and carried the severed deer head in my right hand. There was no other way. Since I couldn't remove the antlers, I had to cut off the neck. The bones were tough, but not as hard as the antlers. As I walked down the valley, I heard rustling to my right. It wasn't an animal. The wind carried a faint scent of blood. It's a monster! A man, moving the hind leg of a slaughtered deer, looked at me and froze. A monster? He stumbled to his feet. Is that you, Han? Do I need to introduce myself every time you see me? I dragged the deer head along. My clothes were torn from the fight, and I wore makeshift armor of deer hide, stained with blood. Soon, Jenna appeared from the forest, her sleeves also blood-stained. Oh, hey, Oppa. I'm tired. Lend me a hand. I tossed the deer head in front of her. Roll, roll. The deadless eyes of the deer stared at Jenna. Why is this deer so huge? I went hunting for a big one. Oh, you should have called me. I would have joined you earlier. Jenna grabbed the deer's head with both hands. The blood on her dress didn't bother her at all. She's quite a character. If I had to describe her in one word, it would be eccentric. That's why I brought her along. How many did you catch? 2 deer and a wild boar. That should keep everyone in the waiting room satisfied for a while. Everyone in the waiting room? Yes, we don't just eat among ourselves. But why did you bring the head? The head doesn't taste good. I brought it for the antlers. They wouldn't come off.
Now that I think about it, this one's a female deer with antlers. Can you tell the gender just by looking at the head? Of course. I've spent a long time in the forest, you know. We reached the dimensional portal. I poured the blood from the shield. Han, 1 star, has collected Queen's blood. Tips: in the weekly dungeon, heroes often collect rare materials. Good. If it hadn't worked, I would have lost valuable materials. Next, I told Jenna to throw the head into the portal. Jenna, 1 star, has collected Queen's antlers. That worked too. The head, not recognized as an item, disappeared, but the antlers were transferred. In front of the portal, the 3 party members were busy transferring materials. Lewis, 1 star, has collected deer hide. Jeffrey, 1 star, has collected wild boar meat. Owen, 1 star, has collected tree branch. Finally, I quickly tossed the elemental stone in without anyone noticing. The collection complete message appeared. Jing! Skill awakening. Jenna, 1 star, has acquired the Forest Hunter skill. She's awakened again, huh? The Forest Hunter skill is a passive ability that boosts combat in forests and improves animal hunting. Given her background, growing up in the forest with a hunter father, I expected as much. Before I knew it, the materials we'd gathered were displayed in front of the portal. 3 minutes, 21 seconds left. Should I catch one more? Leave it. We'll be heading back soon. But how do you know all this? Are you practicing magic or something? You'll find out soon enough. When a magician joins and a magic research lab is built, the research tab becomes available. Among the options is responsiveness research, which improves a hero's ability to follow the master's commands. The higher the research level, the better a hero understands and responds. If it weren't for me, the others would have wandered around clueless and returned empty-handed. I know this from experience. As a master, I'd sent them to gather resources before, but they came back with nothing. If my prediction is right, once the research is complete, people here will be able to see the system too. But we're not there yet. I found a comfortable spot under a tree and stretched out, resting my legs. A refreshing breeze blew, carrying a faint scent of the forest. As I relaxed, the 3 men also took a break, keeping an eye on me. Soon, a bright light enveloped us. Mission complete. The hero will return to the waiting room. Obtained items: 54 tree branches, deer. We returned through the dimensional rift. Back at the plaza, it was already late.
The three men said their goodbyes and disappeared into their lodgings to rest. Tips: want more materials? Gather idle heroes and send them to the weekly dungeon. Form a party. Drag and drop heroes. Han, 1 star, will be removed from Party 4. Jenna, 1 star. This time, anything removed all the existing members from Party 4 and started a new party with Aaron as leader, along with Dika and 3 others. It was necessary. Heroes who'd visited the weekly dungeon before couldn't go again until the next day. With special skills, some could go twice or even 3 times. They were called collection agents and were responsible for gathering resources. Jenna pouted. I want to hunt a little more. Who knows when I'll get another chance? Jenna, 1 star, wishes to participate in the Forest Weekly Dungeon. But she can't. It's not possible. Anyway, I should tell Chloe Nee the good news. We can finally have a meat dish. Tell her when you wake up. Get up and tell her. It was the perfect time to approach Chloe. As the cook, she was busiest at night and in the morning. Yawning, I headed back to the lodging. Having collected the windstone, only the fire and water stones remained.
Chapter 25. Floor Update. Now on the 5th floor. Although the weekday dungeon opens on the 5th floor, only 3 types of dungeons are available immediately after its opening: Isalta Mine, Candleroot Forest, and Singmere Plateau. In these 3 dungeons, you can collect inferior elemental stones from the monsters and exchange them for promotion stones to enhance your abilities. The schedule is as follows. The mine is open on Mondays and Tuesdays, the forest on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and the plateau on Fridays and Saturdays. On Sundays, all 3 weekday dungeons are accessible. I found myself sitting on a bench in the square, savoring a juicy chicken leg. It had been quite a while since I last tasted meat, over a month since I arrived here without a chance to enjoy its flavors. Yesterday, thanks to Jenna's successful hunt, we finally had some meat for our meal. It was a welcome change. Regardless of whether it tasted good or not, surviving on just potatoes wouldn't provide balanced nutrition. You waited, didn't you? Yeah. Jenna emerged from our lodging, a bow and quiver strapped to her back, and a dagger hanging from her waist. Did you enjoy your meal? It was thrilling. I feel like I've eaten a whole deer. At this moment, a lively party was likely underway in the lodging's dining hall. Well, that wasn't our main concern. I spoke up. Isel, I want to venture into the weekday dungeon. Get ready. I'll open the door. Creak! The portal to the space and time realm gradually materialized. The current time displayed is 7:48 a.m. The available weekday dungeon is the plateau, right? Correct. A day had passed in Earth's time since yesterday. We had been gradually constructing a calendar by comparing the time in the waiting room with Earth's time. With the last morsel of chicken leg in my hand, I cleanly separated the remaining meat and tossed the bones into the nearby trash bin. Jenna and I prepared to step into the space and time portal together. Climb the tower and save the world. Main dungeon, current floor, 5. A different dungeon experience awaits each day. Weekday dungeon, Singmere Plateau, 11 hours. Collect a variety of rare materials. Exploration dungeon, access denied. Available after clearing the main dungeon, 10th floor. To the left, the entrance to the main dungeon appeared as a pitch-black void. Given the hero's autonomous actions, it was natural that there were no other accessible areas apart from the weekday dungeon. By the way, can we really become stronger by collecting these materials? Have I ever been wrong? Just follow my lead. Jenna, like me, was on the verge of a promotion. To achieve her promotion, she needed to gather 2 elemental stones, so only the 2 of us were heading out. Aaron seemed to be making up for yesterday's missed training, practicing with his spear since dawn. Dispayaka was there with him, lending a hand. I've opened the passage. Just step into the mirror. All right. I raised my gaze. Dark clouds loomed in the ash-gray sky. Anything, our usual connection point, remained disconnected.
Placing my finger on the mirror's surface, I quickly entered. Faint ripples spread from the point of contact, as if the mirror itself reacted to my touch. After taking a deep breath, I pushed my body forward, immersing myself into the portal. The landscape transformed. A fierce wind howled, causing the tall reeds in the field to bend low. Temporary party. Han, Jenna has entered the weekday dungeon, Singmere Plateau, lowest level. They will gather materials and return. Ahead, a dimensional portal unfurled, a gateway reminiscent of the one we had encountered in the forest. Jenna emerged from the portal, her hand pressed against her forehead as she took in the surroundings. What a magnificent view! The cool breeze is refreshing. We stood at the edge of a cliff, the expansive plain stretching out beneath us. While we couldn't determine the exact height, it seemed to be at least 1,000 meters above sea level. Extending our hands beyond the cliff, we encountered an ethereal barrier blocking our path. Inside the cliff, a sprawling meadow unfolded before our eyes. Suddenly, a red flower caught my attention, a vibrant bloom nestled in a crevice. It's a life bloom. I've seen illustrations of this flower and its 6 divided petals, a vital ingredient for crafting healing potions. If time permits, we should gather some before we leave. Follow my lead. Got it. We pushed through the meadow, forging ahead. The monster you need to catch here is the Highland Tracker. They have a simple movement pattern. If you follow along here, a river comes out. And around the river, I'm lucky. We found it right away. Highland Tracker, level 10. The Highland Tracker was a giant wolf with blue-black fur. It was drinking water with its feet in the river. We crouched under a rock about 5 meters from the river. Is that big boy the prey? I nodded without speaking. I drew my sword and raised my shield. Jenna knocked an arrow on her bow. In this realm, we would face the Plateau Trackers, a challenge we were well prepared for. Each weekday dungeon had its own guardian: deer in the forest, wolves in the plateau, and snakes in the caves. Aim for their legs. Wouldn't it be better to go for a headshot, taking him down in one strike? He'll retaliate fiercely. Jenna drew her bow, aligning her sights with the wolf, and I unsheathed my sword and raised my shield. She fixed her aim and released the arrow. Ping! The wolf agilely evaded the arrow, as if anticipating the attack. He evaded. I told you it won't be that easy. This wolf possessed a unique skill called surprise evade, which had a high chance of dodging projectile attacks. Attacking non-vital areas would decrease their defensive capabilities, but it seemed our tactic had failed as well. Grrr! The wolf radiated hostility. There was no longer a need to hide ourselves. I stepped out from behind the rock, slowly revealing my presence. Kunk, kunk! Yellow droplets flew as the wolf growled. This creature was larger than ordinary forest dwellers, much like the forest queen. Its sinewy limbs displayed robust muscles, and with each growl, its sharp fangs glimmed in the light. He looks tough, but I think I can land a strike. Don't worry, I'll provide an opening. Let's go. I charged forward, wielding my shield as the wolf lunged at me. I have to use the frenzy state. This battle didn't call for intricate strategy. It was a raw, unfettered fight. I decided to harness the frenzy skill I had acquired from our previous mission. It was a high-risk, high-reward skill that unleashed my full potential by sacrificing rationality. How could I activate it, though? Did I need to unleash my anger? I couldn't figure it out, so I halted my thoughts and raised my shield. A powerful impact shook my left hand. The wolf had swung its massive front paw, aimed directly at my shield. It wasn't on par with the forest queen, but it was still formidable.
Swiftly regaining my stance, I rolled aside. The wolf's claws dug into the ground just inches away. The wolf immediately retaliated with another swipe. Its claws grazed the tip of my nose. Fast. The breaks between its attacks were minimal. Dealing with it using my sword was challenging. One wrong move, and my right arm would be severed.
If not for my shield, it would have been a daunting opponent. Gradually, I retreated, skillfully parrying each attack with my shield. Thwack! An arrow flew with perfect timing, piercing the wolf's side. Growl! The wolf turned, baring its fangs at Jenna. Seizing the opportunity, I thrust my sword into the wolf's exposed back. The wolf swiftly spun around, swiping its claws. Its claws tore through the trajectory of my strike. Although my leather arm guard was in tatters, I managed to plunge my sword into its side, right beside the arrow's entry point. Ping! Another arrow found its mark, piercing through the wolf's hindquarters. Seizing the moment, I struck the side of the wolf's head with my shield as it lunged toward Jenna. Thud! Yet another arrow struck home. Jenna was behind me. I was in front. The plateau tracker met its demise, caught between our onslaught of swords and arrows. After some time, the wolf's tongue lolled out of its mouth as it collapsed. A small orb rolled from its parted jaws. Inferior water elemental stone, D grade minus. A stone infused with the essence of the plateau, used for crafting various items and aiding certain hero promotions. Luck was on our side once again. We obtained the elemental stone in a single encounter. It was fortunate that only one wolf appeared. Typically, plateau trackers roamed in packs of 2 or more. This one seemed to have strayed from the group, seeking solitude to quench its thirst. Although I didn't have the chance to use the frenzy skill this time, opportunities would arise in the future. Jenna, skin this creature. What will you use it for? I have plans for it later. And when is later exactly? Jenna grumbled but began to skin the wolf using her dagger. Meanwhile, I plucked a vibrant red flower growing by the riverside. Now, let's see. Potion ingredients: life bloom, plateau water, crackle mushroom, and fool's gold. The purpose of fool's gold remained unclear, but it seemed its potential knew no bounds. As Jenna worked on skinning the wolf, I diligently gathered life blooms. Originally, herb gathering would have been difficult without the herbalist's skill, but with item names popping up visibly for me, it wasn't too challenging to collect them. Plateau water was simply the river flowing through the plateau. I took out a prepared water container and filled it with the crystal clear river water. What about the claws and fangs? I've already separated them. Perfect. Snip, snip. Jenna's nimble fingers skillfully performed the task behind me. It's so peaceful here. Before you speak of peace, wipe the blood off your hands. Why? It's proof that we've put in the effort. The bluish fur of the wolf was now stripped off, revealing its true form. Jenna began meticulously trimming the sharp claws. It would be wonderful if we could always enjoy this tranquility, hunting and gathering herbs, free from the constant presence of the master. Can you imagine? Having enough to eat, a place to rest? Without the master, it's like an earthly paradise. I am a master too, you know. I swallowed my response. In a way, it wasn't entirely wrong to consider it paradise without the constant oversight of the master. We had found companions to journey with, and the opening of the weekly dungeons brought us various ingredients. It was as if a small village had formed in our midst. I wonder if the guys in Niflheim have similar thoughts, the desire for the master to be absent. Even I harbored some dissatisfaction with our current master. If given the chance, I would willingly step into their role. I believe I could manage the waiting room more efficiently than our current situation, if only I could take charge. Don't you desire to engage in combat? What do you mean? Combat isn't limited to fighting on the front lines. You have the ability to hunt, and you're not completely devoid of skills. You don't need to worry about being overshadowed. Are you trying to lift my spirits? If circumstances improve from what they are now, there's nothing to lose. In terms of survival, it was often more advantageous to assume a non-combat role instead of being on the front lines in the main party. If I had prioritized survival, I would have found a way to shift into that position, just like this skilled carpenter expertly carving branches in the woodworking shop around this time. Let's head back. Time is running out. Jenna swiftly wiped her blood-stained hands and rose to her feet. With our spoils in hand, we made our way toward the dimensional portal. Just when we thought the journey was close to ending, sudden figures emerged before the dimensional portal. Running toward the dimensional portal, I called out to Jenna, "Duck!" Growl! Thud! Before us lay the bodies of 5 Highland trackers, as big as their fallen comrade. The dimensional portal was within reach. We wasted no time and rushed toward it. "Take this!" Jenna threw the thick wolf hides into the dimensional portal. Jenna, 1 star, has collected Highland tracker leather. Jenna, 1 star, has collected sharp fangs. Han, 1 star, has obtained life bloom. With the materials gathered in one go, we jumped into the depths of the dimensional portal. Mission complete. The hero returns to the waiting room. Items obtained, life bloom. As we returned to the plaza, we quickly tidied ourselves up. The materials we had just taken into the dimensional portal would automatically be packaged and stored on the shelves in the warehouse. I thought we were done for. How are we supposed to gather materials when we're surrounded like that? They usually don't gather near dimensional portals. Even if we did encounter them, we could simply retreat into the portal. Although we would lose our entry pass, it's still better than the main dungeons where there's no escape once inside. In the future, we would form parties for the weekly dungeon, with 1 combat member assigned as an escort for every 4 gatherers. It was the standard composition for a weekly dungeon party. I briefly explained the concept of the weekly dungeon to Jenna. I couldn't personally guide her through every detail, but I informed her about what she needed and how to reach the 2-star level. Jenna had an intuitive understanding of concepts like levels and grades. With each level increase, her physical abilities would soar, and she couldn't help but notice the difference. "It's really strange. The location changes every day, and we can only go once."
For the master, it's a daily occurrence, but for us, it's not. Once we enter the location, we must first find and defeat those enemies, no matter what. We leave the minor materials to the others. Understood? The more elemental stones and rare materials we obtained, the better. After promotion, we could use them to create special items or imbue equipment with unique powers. For now, I think this is as far as we can go. Promotion was a necessary step, but there was no immediate urgency. Apart from the level restriction being lifted, there weren't many significant advantages to it. Even if we couldn't level up, we could still accumulate experience. And, as we continued exploring the weekly dungeon, materials would naturally accumulate. And so, I headed towards the training grounds.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.